So, ladies and gentlemen, it's finally come to this. Hello, Night Shift 10,000 here with a new video. Yep, I'm finally making content and...
It is glorious!
Yes, indeed. Now, being as we're all here and expecting a good video, let's see what I have on the docket today. Oh God, no. Well, gotta get to it. For those of you who may be curious about this was a video on the Communist Manifesto that came out, well, long time ago, back in 2008. I'm pretty sure my fellow ANCAPs don't know about this, and this is kind of going to be my thing, so yeah, let's get to it. Well, we're off to a good start so far. Let's see where they're going with this.
The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. In the earlier epochs of history, we find almost everywhere a complicated arrangement of society into various orders. In ancient Rome, we have patricians, knights, plebeians, slaves. In the Middle Ages, feudal lords, vassals, guildmasters, journeymen, apprentices, serfs.
So far, the video is accurate and correct. Class systems have existed for most of human history and even into human prehistory. We see even before the times of Rome class struggles and antagonisms. Even into prehistory, we see class systems in the form of hunters and gatherers, and also to a lesser extent fishers and foragers. So, it would seem that humans are geared to live in class-based systems.
Our epoch, the epoch of the bourgeoisie, possesses, however, this distinctive feature. It has simplified class antagonisms. Society as a whole is more and more splitting up into two great hostile camps, into two great classes directly facing each other, bourgeoisie and proletariat.
And we're already reaching flaws in the philosophy here, people. Two great classes facing each other, the very rich being the bourgeoisie and the very poor being the proletariat. You know, I could have sworn that there was a third class in there somewhere. Well, geez, who could they be? Oh, that's right, the middle class, the largest and most prevailing class in society. Yes, thank you, communism, for completely factoring us out of it.
The bourgeoisie has at last, since the establishment of modern industry and of the world market, conquered for itself, in the modern representative state, exclusive political sway. The executive of the modern state is but a committee for managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie.
In a truly anarchist or anarcho-capitalist society, this kind of societal and political manipulation by the so-called bourgeoisie would not exist, but I guess we'll never know, will we?
The bourgeoisie has stripped of its halo every occupation hitherto honored and looked up to with reverent awe. It has converted the physician, the lawyer, the priest, the poet, the scientist into its paid wage laborers.
Yes, because God forbid these important members of our society, possibly the most important members of our society, be paid and compensated for their invaluable and significant contributions to humanity. Nope, can't have any of that shit going on now, can we, communism?
It has left no other bond between people than naked self-interest, than callous cash payment. It has resolved personal worth into exchange value, and in place of the numberless indefeasible chartered freedoms, has set up that single unconscionable freedom, free trade.
Wow, viewing freedom and liberty as a negativist. Good going, communism.
In one word for exploitation, failed by religious and political illusions, it has substituted naked, shameless, direct, brutal exploitation. By freedom is meant, under the present bourgeois conditions of production, free trade, free selling, and buying.
I more or less agree with part of what is being said here. Yes, much of what is happening in our current society are religious, political, and ideological illusions, aided through societal compartmentalization that has existed for more than 10,000 years of human existence. These compartmentalizing systems were the initial means of control during and after the Neolithic Revolution, when state-level societies were forming. Capitalism needs none of these ideologies to function or prosper, however. And in a truly capitalist society, none of these means of control would be available to those who would seek power through corporatization.
The need of a constantly expanding market for its products chases the bourgeoisie over the whole surface of the globe. It must nestle everywhere, settle everywhere, establish connections everywhere.
No, capitalism actually doesn't have to do this. However, wherever it's tried, conditions improve and people enjoy the changes, so it seems like a good idea for economies to convert to capitalism. Yeah, try doing some research, guys.
All old established national industries have been destroyed or are daily being destroyed. They are dislodged by new industries whose—
Oh shit, they just made capitalism sound awesome. Quickly, come up with a straw man to make it sound crappy again. Go ahead.
introduction becomes a life and death question for all civilized nations. By industries that no longer work up indigenous raw material, but raw material drawn from the remotest zones. Industries whose products are consumed not only at home, but in every corner of the globe.
Someone needs to tell the communists that self-reliance is a thing. Look, if something is cheaper and better produced in a foreign industry, what is the problem? This is a good thing.
In place of the old wants, satisfied by the production of the country, we find new wants, requiring for their satisfaction the products of distant lands and climes. It compels all nations on pain of extinction to adopt the bourgeois mode of production. It compels them to introduce what it calls civilization into their midst, i.e., to become bourgeois themselves. In a word, it creates a world after its own image.
And communism doesn't.
It has agglomerated population, centralized the means of production, and has concentrated property in a few hands. Subjection of nature's forces to man, machinery, application of chemistry to industry and agriculture, steam navigation, railways, electric telegraphs, clearing of whole continents for cultivation, canalization of rivers. What earlier century had even a presentiment that such productive forces slumbered in the lap of social labor?
I know, right? God, isn't capitalism just fucking awesome? Oh, you're trying to paint it in a bad light with straw man arguments. Oh, wow. Okay, fine, whatever.
Modern bourgeois society, with its relations of production, of exchange, and of property, a society that has conjured up such gigantic means of production and of exchange, is like the sorcerer who is no longer able to control the powers of the netherworld whom he has called up by his spells.
You are literally speaking out against overproduction and human prosperity. I'm sorry, really?
In these crises, there breaks out an epidemic that in all earlier epochs would have seemed an absurdity, the epidemic of overproduction. And how does the bourgeois get over these crises? On the one hand, by enforced destruction of a mass of productive forces. On the other, by the conquest of new markets and by the more thorough exploitation of the old ones.
Oh my God. You've got to be shitting me right now. You are speaking out against human development and human prosperity, both industrially and technologically. Yes, development means inventing new technological wonders and expansions, and capitalism has been shown to create this progression the most efficiently. And you're speaking out against this development. Geez, communism, you're really making yourself look attractive there.
The various interests and conditions of life within the ranks of the proletariat are more and more equalized in proportion as machinery obliterates all distinctions of labor and nearly everywhere reduces wages to the same low level.
And we have more straw manning here with communism speaking out against industrial automation, something that frees humans to pursue more fulfilling endeavors. Automating industries has created more production in both the industrial sector and the human production index, and has decreased the death count of people in society as individual workers are no longer needed to be around such dangerous industrial machinery. But yeah, you're right, communism. Just keep these people in dangerous industrial settings to keep an inefficient system alive. Thumbs up, commies!
The proletarian movement is a self-conscious, independent movement of the immense majority in the interests of the immense majority. The proletariat, the lowest stratum of our present society.
Did you hear that, everyone? Did you hear that? Yeah, that's communism factoring the middle class completely out. The proletariat being the lowest stratum of our society and the bourgeoisie being the highest. The middle class are completely vacant from this movement and completely out of it. Yeah, attractive, isn't it, middle class?
Cannot stir, cannot raise itself up without the whole superincumbent strata of official society being sprung up into the air.
Translation: poor people steal shit and money that isn't yours from the rich exploiters that you chose to work for voluntarily. For reasons because communism. Yeah, really being civil there, communism. Really.
Now and then the workers are victorious, but only for a time. The real fruit of their battle lies not in the immediate result, but in the ever-expanding union of the workers. This union is furthered by the improved means of communication which are created by modern industry.
Another great product from the fruits of capitalism. Ironic, isn't it?
And which place the workers of different localities in contact with one another. We communists have been reproached with the desire of abolishing the right of personally acquiring property as the fruit of one's own labor, which property is alleged to be the groundwork of all personal freedom, activity, and independence. Hard-won, self-acquired, self-earned property? Do you mean the property of the petty artisan and of the small peasant?
No, I and others are asking about the property of the middle, lower, and high-class individuals that would see the fruits of their labors stolen by communism and communist stipulations. That's what's really at stake here.
There is no need to abolish that. The development of industry has to a great extent already destroyed it and is still destroying it daily.
Citation and examples needed.
You are horrified at our intending to do away with private property.
No, I'm actually more saddened by it, and the fact that communists and people that support communism view such integral human freedoms, such as property ownership, as a negative.
But in your existing society, private property is already done away with for 9/10 of the population. Its existence for the few is solely due to its non-existence in the hands of the 9/10.
And more examples of corporatism in action. Maybe I should start a counter at this point.
Communism deprives no one of the power to appropriate the products of society. All that it does is to deprive him of the power to subjugate the labor of others by means of such appropriation.
Basic translation: no one can climb or rise above in society, and society is kept stagnant, and we can all be poor and miserable together. Yay, communism!
The bourgeois claptrap about the family and education, about the haloed correlation of parent and child, becomes all the more disgusting the more, by the action of modern industry, all family ties among the proletarians are torn asunder, and their children are transformed into simple articles of commerce and instruments of labor.
So, education is now negative in a communist society because it allows children from poor families to rise above their circumstances? Wait, no. Seriously, communism?
The bourgeoisie has torn away from the family its sentimental veil and has reduced the family relation to a mere money relation. Nothing is more ridiculous than the virtuous indignation of our bourgeois at the community of women which, they pretend, is to be openly and officially established by the communists. The communists have no need to introduce community of women. It has existed from time immemorial. The workers have no country.
Again, a point I partially agree with as an anarchist and anarcho-capitalist. This should be the case everywhere, but not just with workers. Everyone needs to be this way. No countries or compartmentalizations of human ideology. Just people voluntarily existing in a global society. That's it. No borders.
We cannot take from them what they have not got. Political power, properly so called, is merely the organized power of one class for oppressing another.
And another point as an anarchist and anarcho-capitalist that I do partially agree with. Okay, things are starting to turn around here.
In place of the old bourgeois society with its classes and class antagonisms, we shall have an association in which the free development of each is the condition for the free development of all.
Oh, geez, that sounds so warm, fuzzy, and wonderful. Now, let's just see some examples where that's worked. And, wait.
The communists disdain to conceal their views and aims. They openly declare that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions.
So, violent upheaval and murder. Got it.
Let the ruling classes tremble at a communist revolution.
And I say, let the communists tremble at a true capitalist and agorist revolution, as this would be communism's extinction.
The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win.
That's right, folks. Slip out of your so-called capitalist chains and slip right back into some communist chains. No, wait a minute.
Workers of all countries, unite.
Wow, that was really hard to get through. And again, it really saddens me to think that people actually believe that this kind of society is a good setting for humanity. Humans are individualist creatures. We want to be acknowledged for our individual works, and we want trophies of what we have accomplished in our lives. Communism doesn't offer any of these things and deprives humanity of purpose. But it's not long-term, and people in communist societies quickly realize the mistakes they have made, which is why they never last long, and they never will. Believe me, when people have to start using the communal toothbrush and the communal fleshlight, they'll realize the error they've made. Well, thanks for being here, everyone, and thank you for listening to what I've had to say. I would like to give a few shout-outs to some friends. Again, my 2 cents. Nate the Voluntarist, the Dark Conservatarian, Atomic ANCAP, and of course, Mr. Dapperton. All of them are awesome guys, and if it wasn't for these cool people, I probably wouldn't be doing this right now, so please give them a like and a subscribe. And if you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe this video and hit that little notification bell down there for more content. And as for this video, I'm Night Shift 10,000, and I'm gone.